Cowboys great reveals harsh Mike Zimmer truth after ugly start versus Ravens. The Dallas Cowboys chose to receive the opening kick against the Baltimore Ravens. While the offense doesn't have a ton of firepower, it makes sense why Mike McCarthy didn't want to put Mike Zimmer's defense on the field first after last week. The drive stalled out before midfield, leaving Zimmer's group with a chance to bail out the offense. That did not happen. Lamar Jackson sliced through Dallas like many expected he would. It took the Ravens 5 plays to travel 71 yards and score the game's opening touchdown. DeMarvion Overshown missed a tackle, which led to a big gain, while Micah Parsons and DeMarcus Lawrence both were slow to react on QB reads. It was a predictable outcome based off last Sunday's performance, and one particular former Cowboy has seen enough from Zimmer. Dez Bryant doesn't think Mike Zimmer is a good fit with the Cowboys. Zim coaching style and the Cowboys' defensive players don't align. Bryant is not knocking Zimmer. He is merely saying that the Cowboys don't have the players to execute Zimmer's scheme. While it sure looked like they did in Week 1, the 5+ quarters have fans hitting the panic button. That performance also might have been a product of Deshaun Watson, who lost to the Giants on Sunday, being a bad quarterback. One of the best wide receivers in franchise history, Bryant thinks that Dan Quinn is a better fit for Dallas personnel. Zimmer deserves a full season before folks jump to conclusions, but it's been the same story as the Quinn era. The Cowboys cannot stop the run. We all remember how much of a nightmare Mike Nolan's defenses were, right? Well, Cowboys fans have pulled out the Nolan comparisons on social media in the first half. That is extremely reactionary. Zimmer's defenses have historically started slow. His scheme and style require an adaptation period. There's still a lot of game left. But if the defense puts up another dud at home, they are trending that direction. There will little benefit of the doubt to give Zimmer. While Bryant is among the most prominent Zimmer cynics, the front office did not set up the defensive coordinator for success. The team's nose tackle rotation might be the worst in the NFL, and he's starting a day 3 cornerback who missed a tackle that led to a 70-yard catch and run. That certainly isn't his fault, and he can't tackle for the players. Maybe Bryant is onto something. Cowboys fans needed 10 quarters to want Mike Zimmer sent to the unemployment line. The Dallas Cowboys had one of, if not the most underwhelming offseasons in the NFL. Cowboys fans had high expectations following an embarrassing loss in the wild card round last season, but the team did very little in free agency and even took a loss on the coaching front. Dan Quinn, the team's defensive coordinator, inked a deal to become the new head coach of the Washington Commanders. A lot of the attention in Dallas regarding their success is attributed to stars like Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb, and for good reason, but their defense has come up huge in recent years, allowing the Cowboys to have as much regular season success as they have. Early returns under new defensive coordinator Mike Zimmer were solid, as they held the Cleveland Browns to just 17 points in a dominant Week 1 win. Unfortunately, it's looking more like that Week 1 performance might have had more to do with the Browns than it did the Cowboys. In Week 2, the Cowboys allowed the New Orleans Saints to come to Jerry World and drop a whopping 44 points in a blowout. A brutal start to their Week 3 game against the Baltimore Ravens had Cowboys fans fed up with Zimmer to the point where they wanted him gone already. Cowboys fans want Mike Zimmer fired in record time following frustrating loss versus Ravens. RIP to the years of great defense. Mike Zimmer is a massive downgrade from Dan Quinn. They had their share of playoff hiccups, but the Cowboys were as elite as any team in the NFL defensively the last couple of years. They ranked 5th in the NFL, allowing just 18.5 points per game last season. In 2022, they were also 5th in the NFL, giving up 20.1 points per game. In 2021, they ranked 7th in the NFL by giving up 21.1 points per game. In Quinn's 3 years in Dallas, they were 7th or better in points allowed. That's not too shabby. In 3 weeks this season, Dallas already gave up 44 to the Saints and 21 in the first half to the Ravens. They only allowed 7 second-half points, but Dallas still dropped to 1-2, falling in a 28-25 game. The Cowboys did well against Lamar Jackson the passer, limiting him to just 12 completions and 182 passing yards, but the damage Baltimore did on the ground was impossible to ignore. Derrick Henry stole the show, rushing for 151 yards and a pair of touchdowns, and Jackson added 87 yards of his own on the ground. Unfortunately, This doesn't come as a shocker to some Cowboys fans who never believed in Zimmer in the first place. They saw backup quarterback Cooper Rush throw for 325 yards and 2 touchdowns in a win on Halloween back in 2021. If Cooper Rush was able to do that, surely better teams and quarterbacks could find ways to dominate too. It should be noted that it has only been 3 weeks and 12 quarters of regular season ball under Mike Zimmer, so things can get better as players get more accustomed to his system. However, there's also a chance that Zimmer's system just isn't going to work out in Dallas. A test against the lowly New York Giants awaits, and all Cowboys fans can do is hope that their defensive coordinator can figure something out to stop Malik Neighbors and company. Jerry Jones very disappointed by Cowboys' 2-game slide. We've got a lot of work to do. 1 week ago, owner and general manager Jerry Jones was one of the primary decision-makers, noting the Dallas Cowboys needed to, and would, improve over their embarrassing loss at the hands of the New Orleans Saints in Week 2. But as they enter a shortened Week 4, the improvements are still in the wind, mostly, having dropped their matchup against the Baltimore Ravens in Week 3. Things were again getting out of hand when the defense was unable to halt Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry, as the offense continued their struggles in the red zone and, overall, figuring out how to score touchdowns, promising drives killed by a list of untimely penalties and a fumble by CeeDee Lamb. "It just seemed like we couldn't get out of our own way," said Jones. But it's just a reminder of what this game is about. The silver lining that exists this week, but was absent 7 days prior, lies in how the Cowboys came alive in the fourth quarter in all 3 phases. They scored 3 touchdowns, recovered an onside kick, and forced Jackson's offense off of the field on 3rd down on multiple occasions. The late-game push nearly handed the Ravens the biggest NFL collapse of the season, but they needed one more stop to have a chance, and they weren't able to finish their comeback. Jones is at least seeing the events of the fourth quarter as momentum and confidence that can be built on going forward, considering the Cowboys scored more points in that quarter than in the previous 11 quarters combined. "They can take some of what they showed out at the end of that game, and we can go forward with that," he said. "That's at least some good taste in your mouth. We're sad, obviously, for our fans that we've lost 2 in a row here at home, but if things work like you'd like to have them, they can take some of what we had at the end there and bottle it up and go forward with it." That doesn't mean, under any circumstances, that he's ignoring what happened for the first 45 minutes of the contest against Baltimore. He is expecting better, and there's at least something that gives confidence the improvement is on the way. "No, I'm very disappointed that we got beat today," Jones said. "Very disappointed. And you can't in any way sugarcoat the fact that we got beat, and there were parts of the way we got beat that were really areas we've got to get a lot better in. We've got a lot of work to do, but we've got time to do that kind of work, and we've got a short week this week, but we've got to start." That was disappointing. When you look at the whole picture, we got outplayed today. Now 1 game back of the Philadelphia Eagles with 14 regular season games left to play, it's about fixing things sooner than later to avoid finding themselves in a situation wherein they're regretting dropping early games that could ultimately determine playoff seeding, or their playoff fate altogether. Jones hopes the confidence has returned to the team after what they were nearly able to do in the fourth quarter against the Ravens. "It takes a lot of stuff after going all day long, playing the way we were playing, shooting ourselves in the foot, then making some big plays," he said. "That takes something to come back and give that kind of effort at the end. I'm going to hang my hat on that."